So my name's The2DMan. I've been playing Genshin since the initial launch. After the first like 5 days, I got into it because a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't you try this out? This is kind of like Breath of the Wild." And I was like, "Okay." And it's like it's got some pretty good waifus, and I was like, "Okay." And he had me check out the website, and he's like, "Which ones do you like?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." We gave it a try, and we got hooked from there. But yeah, I got more in depth into the like doing the abyss and all that stuff as well with the build, so that also captivated me. But yeah, that's kind of my background. Been playing ever since, but I was variety before then.
For sure, yeah. I was a variety streamer before as well. I played a lot of Smite, um, and like Valorant, and some other BRs and things. And then like I'd always enjoy, and I played a lot of World of Warcraft before. Like I've been playing WoW since it came out, however many years ago that is now.
Okay.
Um, I haven't played it for a long, like I guess since really I started playing Genshin, honestly. um,
Wait, did you get into Lost Ark? I know,
uh,
like,
a little bit. I played Lost Ark for a couple weeks, but it just didn't hold my attention the same way that other MMOs in the past have.
okay.
And I feel like every time there's a new MMO that comes out, I have a terrible like habit of just comparing everything in that MMO to WoW, and then I'm just like, but it's not WoW, so I don't want to play it. Like
It's just not the
it's
same.
not the same. But I mean, I saw Genshin pretty late into like. I mean, it was before it released, but I only saw it maybe like a week before it released. I started seeing people like tweeting about it, and I want to say it was like King Gathalion or something that tweeted about it that I was like, oh, like I'll check this out. And so I went and I watched the trailer, and I was like, okay, yeah, this game looks sweet because like you said, Breath of the Wild. I played Breath of the Wild. I loved that game. And so I checked it out. I started playing it when it came out. Played it for like 2 weeks, pretty consistently, and then I like right before Klee's banner, I guess, that first banner, I stopped and I was like, oh, I'm going to go play like Smite. I'm going to go play some other stuff because I had a bunch of friends that played Smite. And I would
Mhm.
like hop on every now and then, but not really do much with it. And then around like when Zhao was announced, because like from the initial trailer, I was like, okay, that guy looks cool. Like I want him. And then Zhao's first banner came out, and I pulled on his banner, and I was like, oh man, I didn't get him. No big deal. We'll come back. But I wasn't really following Genshin at that point, so I didn't know that his banner was only 2 weeks and not 3 weeks.
Oh, man.
So by the time I came back, it was what was that? It was in Kaching, the Kaching banner that we had in 1.3, and I was like, oh no. So I
The
missed that.
classic.
And then I ended up I pulled on Who's Tao's banner, and I got her, and I got D Luke, and then basically from there on I was just exclusively Genshin, and that's all I've really streamed since. I'm not a whale by any means, but I do, I spend money to get the characters that I want, which is every character because I need all of them.
Well, don't you have them all? You got all of
I
them, like,
do.
recently, right?
I do. I'm a collector. They're like Pokemon, and I need all of them. The problem with that though is that I'm always poor and I have no books and I have nothing. Like I'm trying to
That's like,
build
as
so
if
many
you, like,
characters.
if you're gonna build all of them, it's gonna be super hard too, especially if you're trying to do, like, all their artifact sets.
Yeah,
Because originally so I got, like I remember when I first started playing, I got really big into the artifacts and, like, I got the characters I wanted. And my main goal was to get, like, 1 perfect artifact set for every artifact set, that you can get, so
yeah,
that it's
yeah,
like anytime I get, like, a new character, I'll be like, "Oh, cool, I can just smack this set on them and they'll be good."
for sure. I mean,
But
that's
they
the
keep adding new artifact sets, and I'm like, "Oh, man."
yeah, that's the way to go. But yeah, my luck also, like I feel like I would have so many more characters built if I didn't like, I usually I try to focus on one character at a time. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build this character, um, and but sometimes that doesn't, you know, happen the way I would like it to. So I guess speaking of artifacts, I mean, because I think I pulled like 400 artifacts out of the Husk and Ocean Hue domain before I got a crit helm. Period in Husk, crit rate or crit damage. And luckily the crit rate one I pulled was awesome. It was like perfect for Edo, but it was so much resin into that. So I know, I guess we said we're going to kind of just talk about our experience with Genshin, but while we're on the topic of artifacts, in your experience, like from other games that you played as well, I guess, like how do you feel about the system that we get artifacts through? Not necessarily the resin system, which I guess it kind of is the resin system as well, but like, how do you feel about the only way getting artifacts is, pure RNG through these domain drops?
Here, let me answer this question 1 second. Thank you for the raid, by the way, Moonzin. He's a good old pal of mine who replays Tarkov, if you've ever heard of that game.
I have heard of Tarkov.
Moonzin, thank you for the raid. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. But let's just stop it in. Okay, good to see you. Hope you're well. But to answer the question, yeah, the RNG, it, it, it's pretty bad. But the thing is, like, I know that it frustrates a lot of people, like, quite a bit, and that's kind of one of the reasons that it's a major turnoff. But for me, I just went in with, like, no expectations. I've gotten used to just, farming this stuff, and it's just like, whatever. It eventually will fall, and that's where it's like, if you really, really want to make a character good, you have to, like, farm that domain. I expect, like, weeks. It's just kinda like what I expect. It just takes time, but
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
I agree with that too. And then I know that, like, coming from, I used to play a lot of Destiny, and coming from that where, like, it is RNG on like getting the drops that you want, but at least there's not like any type of time gating on, running that strike or running that, over and over again to get it. Whereas with Genshin, I feel like now we have the fragile resins, which is nice when you have them, which I don't ever. But it's nice, when you have that. But I think with so many, I just feel like there's so much that takes resin, and we get so little resin every day. And I mean, when it came out, it was worse. It was 120 when it came out, and they upped it to 160 at least. So like, I feel like there's got to be at least like another 40 bump when Sumeru comes out to like 200, because right now we have 5 weekly bosses. We have something like 10 regular bosses that you have for boss mats.
We have a lot of bosses. I mean, I feel like they should. I've got a couple of takes. So let me just bring up something that one of Cryo brought up in our chat right now, is that artifacts are rough, but getting a character to a playable state isn't that hard. And that's a really good point, is that even though getting perfect artifacts, and for us that are min-maxers, it's going to take a while, but honestly, the game's not that hard, and to get like a decent set that's workable, you can just do it pretty easily.
That's true.
But as far as the resin, yeah, as we keep getting more stuff, we're gonna need more resin to farm all this stuff. I was thinking, well, one thing was that because of the resin, that it's kind of given us more of an incentive to play over a long duration of time. Because, like, let's just think, if we had like unlimited resin from the get-go, we would probably just farm to our heart's desire until we were just tired or felt like we couldn't get any better, right? And then we'd stop playing.
Yeah.
So there is that one side. But the one thing I think would be like a good idea is that, what if they had like 2 types of currency as far as resin? So you have like a resin that's particularly made just for like boss farming, and then one that's particularly just for like domains. I mean, they could get up to like 3 different types if we want to have like a raid type of like resin for like when we want to do more co-op stuff, so that, we get more stuff involved. But that's kind of like a far-fetched idea.
Yeah.
would be nice.
I mean, I get that for sure, because if you have to choose every day between, what is the equivalent of 8 domains or 4 bosses, versus if you just, because you can do 4 bosses in like 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
The thing is, like, I don't even farm some of the old bosses anymore. Like, I only farm Signora and like the Raiden and maybe Mr. Azdaha Big Chungus over there sometimes. But for newer players, you're kind of screwed over. You're like everything
for them. I mean, I have like a lot of Dream Solvent saved up, so I don't really farm that as much. Like But yeah, if I want to go after, like, it's really going after like whatever talents I need. I don't ever do anything more than riding Shogun right now, except for if I'm like, oh, I really want to finish this week of the battle pass or whatever, and I'll do the like 3 in the week for the battle pass. That's about it. I mean, I don't, and I mean, I will say it is nice that they made the first 3 kills only cost 30 resin instead of 60 resin each. So that was like a step in the right direction. But that's still, over half your resin one day to finish those for the week. I would like to see, even if they just implemented something where, you still had to spend resin for bosses, you still had to spend resin for domains, but then the weekly bosses, because you can only get loot off them once. If they made them like not require resin to get the loot, because it's not like you can
be
farm them over and over.
That would be nice.
Like that's just like a one and done type thing.
Somebody in our chat brought up that in their opinion, RNG is a horrible way to keep up player retention. It's annoying. Which, I mean, that makes sense too, but I don't know, like, how would you counter that? And the only thing I'm thinking of is if you did, like, so lower the RNG or just kind of remove aspects where, like, you can trade different substats or main stats for an artifact, but create harder content maybe, because I think maybe that would be more enjoyable. Like, if we can build the builds we want to in the way that we want, then have that. The only counter to that is, like, if they made opponents harder so that, we get the builds we want, we just have to fight stuff that's tougher, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Or like even, I've seen a lot of people bringing up like they want to be able to, re-roll one stat or re-roll, whatever on their artifact, which like on one hand I get, but I also get where, Hoyoverse comes from with the fact that they have it. Like, I mean, the game is free to play game and it's funded through microtransactions. Like, they want you to spend, the whatever it is, $5 a day or whatever to get your max resin refreshes off of your primo gems. Like, they I'm sure are still making plenty of money from banners that they're not really incentivized to make it any different for players. And, I know a lot of times people bring up like, they're not, what, like they're doing things that don't gear towards free to play players, or they're doing things that make it harder for free to play players, which like I understand, but also at the end of the day, I feel like they're going to cater towards the people that are giving them money, not towards free to play players. So like if the people keep giving them money, they don't have any reason to change it.
Yeah. If it's working, why fix it?
Yeah, like if you're a business and something's
selling, that's
selling,
the old thing.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so until something changes in that regard, I think, or until we get to the point where even with those 5 weekly resin refreshes, it's still, like someone in chat said over here, I mean, it takes 210 resin a week if you want to do all the weekly bosses, which is like a day and a half of resin that you're just putting towards weekly bosses. And even then, you're not, I mean, aside from talent materials, if you need talent materials off every single boss, I guess, but you're really not getting that much more. I mean, I think the amount of times I've gotten a good artifact drop off of a weekly boss, I can count on like one hand. Where I'm like, oh, this is a sweet Wanderer's hat. Like,
yeah, I don't even remember if I got one, to be honest. But I mean, the fact that we're getting more weekly bosses is one thing that they have to take into account, that they're probably going to have to address at some point. And the other thing is just the size of the game, because this is a mobile game, and I think the mobile community is probably the vast majority at this point.
I would say,
I think at launch there was more even split between, PC, console, and mobile. But I think at this point, most people have probably transitioned to either using like strictly mobile, or to that point. I know there's still PC and console, but a majority are playing mobile, and then it's just getting so big. So how are they going to fix that? I mean, I know removing a language kind of saves some storage, but when we keep getting new portions of the map, they're gonna have to figure out, like, so it's like, do you let me just uninstall all of Inazuma this week, just so I can
like honestly, updating just his most recent update I had to delete like 10 apps off my phone just to down like I have it on my phone. And really the only reason I have Genshin on my phone at all is sometimes I want to record something and I don't want to like go to my computer to record it. So I just like screen cap it from my phone real quick. And that's the only reason I have it. I don't really ever play on mobile, but yeah, like it's huge. And like when Sumeru comes out, I'm not going to be able to have it on my phone. I guarantee that it's going to add so much to it. But someone in chat here said that the reason the resin system is in place because of China's internet laws. They said if they recall correctly, since they mainly operate in China, they have laws that regulate how long citizens can connect to the internet in a day.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know if that's actually true or if it's, that's just like,
Well,
hearsay
I
or
know
whatever,
that they
but
passed later on that, like, people could only play a certain amount per week or per
mhm,
day. So that's
yeah.
definitely a thing. And coming from I mean, I'm working quite a bit, so me hopping in and just playing for, like, 30 minutes is,
Mhm,
like, really easy. But
for
for
sure.
somebody that's trying to get more than 30 minutes from the game, it becomes definitely kind of, I guess, underwhelming a little bit to a
Mhm,
degree.
for
But,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. And someone else said they can, could they make a separate server for players in China if they are restricted to that?
Oh,
I don't
that
know.
would
Like,
be interesting.
I know that
Global and then a
World of Warcraft had a separate client for players in I know it was at least China. I don't know if there was other Asian countries that were included in that because of just the visuals, I guess, like depictions of death are, I guess, very like taboo in China.
mm,
So like when you die and WoW, your skeleton appears on the ground. And the Chinese client, it's a gravestone instead of a skeleton. And like the undead race had like bones sticking through, but in the Chinese client they didn't have bones, and it was more like just like. So I know that there are games in the past that have changed at least visual aspects. I don't know about changing an entire game mechanic though, just for a separate
mm.
client. Um, that would be interesting.
It'd be interesting. I mean, like, they've already implemented different skins
Hmm.
because of reasons due to, the Chinese community,
Hmm.
and we'll probably get more changes in the future down the road. I don't
Yeah.
know if we're gonna get a full-on different server. Did Hoyoverse, did they move, or are they still located in
As far as I know, when
does
they
anybody in chat know?
yeah, when they changed to, let me pull it up real
Also,
fast.
Jace gave us a perspective on how much it costs to do a full resin refresh. It's $10 a
ten
day, I
dollars,
think, and,
$10 a day. Okay.
then $300. That amounts to $300 per month. So when you guys watch whales or people that have broken artifacts, do keep in mind that they most likely do refreshes,
Yep.
and they're spending for those. So yeah, don't feel bad about your artifact sets.
Yeah, they're
Most
spending,
most of the stuff that you see people are normally spending for, or they've been playing for a long time.
yeah.
Uh, one or the other.
So when I search Hoyoverse headquarters, it's still coming up as MiHoYo in Shanghai, but I thought that Hoyoverse was based somewhere else. Because
In Punky
I know
oh,
when
go ahead.
I make any type of microtransaction, I want to say it shows up as somewhere that's not Shanghai. I want to say I think it shows up on my bank statement as Singapore.
Yeah, they do it through some other group or some other third
Yeah.
party thing, I think.
Yeah, but I guess apparently, according to this, are still based out of China.
I think that okay, wait, let me read somebody mentioned chat. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is what MiHoYo is doing, like, they have now transitioned to Singapore publisher is my guess. Okay, because I think once they transition and move,
Hmm.
you might actually hear them kind of addressing more of the global, I guess, uh, um, feedback
Hmm.
more often
For
than
sure.
is at least what I'm thinking, but I don't know. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, because I know even right now, it's a lot of the feedback that they address and a lot of the changes that get made to the game are feedback that they get from their Eastern client base, and a lot of the feedback from the Western client base isn't. I don't know if it's ignored, but it's not addressed in the same way. Um, but I don't know if that's for, legal purposes, or they're, more worried about addressing issues where obviously where they operate. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that like progresses now that, because I mean, this was really the first, this is the first version that they've been Hoyoverse, right? 2. They weren't were they still,
I think
or
so.
was
The
it
first
2.4?
and I'm surprised that they had to do this whole change because they never had to do that for Honkai at
Yeah.
all. So
Which
that
is,
was kind of interesting that they ended up doing it for this game.
yeah, and I mean the outfits in Honkai are just as, revealing as the outfits in
Yeah,
Genshin.
I
Like,
don't know how that went about being fine, and the
yeah,
other stuff was, I don't it could be that Honkai might be, uh, somewhere else officially
yeah. Or maybe it's
than
because, I mean, because Genshin is, you know, a bigger game than Honkai is. So maybe it's just the size of Genshin and like the
it could just
global
be the
popularity.
audiences that they're tailored to as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And
So
I
it's
think,
already have
Genshin's gotten so much global attention that maybe that has something to do with it as well. But yeah, I don't know. So I guess what now that we're talking about all these things that we'd like to change about Genshin, what has like kept you playing Genshin? Like, why do you still come back to it and play it
I was thinking
even
about
with all
asking you
these
the same
things?
question too. So aside from, like, streaming it and
Yeah.
having a community of people that I've grown close to that we all play it, so it's like our common place of interest,
Yeah.
aside from that, I guess, like, really it was, just maxing the characters out. Like, in my head, I was like, it kinda bothered me about the different builds or stuff like that, and
Mhm.
then also when we get new characters that are really cool. I
Yeah.
like the gameplay mechanic. Like, to be honest, if the gameplay mechanic wasn't fun, I probably wouldn't be playing, so that was also, like, a main step.
For sure.
There is the story, but I feel like we've gotten nowhere with the story for, like, the last year.
Yeah.
It seems like. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, I agree with that. I think, definitely a big part of it is, building a community around it. And like you said, and kind of having everyone play it and be able to talk about it together. But yeah, I mean, I really like the combat. And that's one of the first things that I noticed and really enjoyed about it was I like, the elemental reactions. I like, having to swap between different characters, figuring out different team comps, what's going to, work well
Mhm.
together. I really enjoyed that part. I really enjoy building characters, and I really enjoy, I guess, like the payoff and like the feeling you get when you finally, get that piece to drop. Um, it's just like with any other game, you're hunting for that loot, and then you finally get that loot to drop. It's a good feeling. So I like that. I really enjoy polling for new characters. I like seeing the things that they change and seeing the new characters that are coming up. And then the story, well, I agree that I feel like it hasn't really gone um, too far. I one thing I love about the game and that I continue to love about the game that I have since it started is that all of the like main story quests are fully voice acted, and I think that that is super cool. I like the voice actors um, uh, that they have. I love the fact that we get to see like we get to like make that connection with the characters
Mhm.
through that, and it kind of brings the characters to life in that regard. I'd love to dive more into the lore that's in the game
Yeah,
that we
same.
don't like see all the time, like going through and reading all the weapon descriptions and the artifact descriptions and all that, like because I'm sure there's so much more in the world that like I just kind of gloss
The
past
lore is really
sometimes.
cool because I remember I was making trivia nights, and you were in one of them.
Yeah.
And I would be digging up I didn't hit you guys with too many lore questions, I mean, they're tough, but
Yeah.
they have a Wikipedia basically,
Hmm.
and sometimes when you go back and reading, like, pretty much everything in the game has, like, a backstory, like, coming from the artifacts to the weapon to the everything, and some of it is really cool, and I would just find myself just reading half the stuff, like, that was the hard part about making the trivia questions, you get glued to reading the story before you can come up with the question,
Yeah.
but no, it's got really good lore, and they have, like, a manga series or a webtoon series and some
Hmm.
other stuff that's really cool. I wish they would maybe, like, implement that or flesh that out more in the game
Yeah.
so that people could get more of a background behind some of the characters. I know they have the voice lines and stuff like that, but if you're somebody like me who's like a very visual person,
Yeah.
um, any kind of like anything visual would be like really nice and would add a lot, but that's a little bit too much asking.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I guess I haven't really like poured through the whole like archive section of Genshin, but when you go into the archive, it's really just talking about, I mean, there's not like a whole like lore section in the archive that like lists it all out for you. Because I remember even when I was big into Destiny, one of my favorite podcasts to listen to for Destiny was one that was called Ghost Stories, and it was literally just going through the lore of Destiny. And Destiny was the same way; it didn't have anything fleshed out. You had to read
mm,
item descriptions, you had to read weapon descriptions, like all that kind of stuff to get the lore of the game. Um, but like it's so interesting, and it's so like there's so much they put in that like a lot of people don't see. And so that's why even like the books that we pick up and stuff, like there's things you can go back through and you can like read through those, and it adds like a whole different layer to that. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I never knew this. Like this is why this happened. And like things make a lot more sense. Cause sometimes I feel like things happen in the game and there's like character interactions that are just kind of like, okay. But there's probably some
yeah, to
deeper
be honest, like
meaning.
most of the reading is a lot more in depth,
Mm-hmm.
whereas, like, what we get from a gameplay, I mean, it's kind of just on the, like, just on the surface level,
Yeah.
and it's very kinda simple and easy, but
Mm-hmm.
if you go into reading some of the stuff, and it gets pretty dark and some of the things, I mean, I
Yeah.
remember read some stuff and, like, I was like, "Wow, okay." It gets dark, they just don't really show too much of it in your little, like, story quest, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty cool. The lore is also really good.
So there is a
Um,
lot of good stuff about Genshin. There's definitely a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, but I think that that speaks to the fact that we enjoy the game, that we want them to fix it. Like if it's a game that was bad, no one would be bothering to talk about the things that needed to be fixed. Like people enjoy this game, they're passionate about this game, and they want it to be the best that it can be. It's just that not everyone agrees on what the best it can be is, and there's a
yeah.
lot of things that go into that. But there's definitely a large community around the game, and a lot of people that want to see this game succeed.
I guess, like, the other thing that you see a lot is that some people will mention burnout and then the
Mhm.
end game.
Yeah,
And that's so when you play the game for a while and you start to kind of maximize your characters, and this is where the part where, for the most part, what drove me and gave me a drive to play the game for a long time was trying to clear the hardest content with some of my favorite characters, proving that if I could do it with C0 of that character, that I was doing it right.
yeah.
Um, but then once you're able to do that, then you're like, "Okay, well, what do I do now?"
Now
Right?
what? Yeah,
And I think that's where the burnout or, just getting tired. I mean, I know other things where people get frustrated with the gotcha system with the 50-50.
hmm
I mean, I know the pity system is rough, but if you've ever played any other gotcha games, they don't even most of them don't even have a pity system.
nope.
So it's I
Just
think most
screwed.
of us that are really bothered by it are the fact that, like, this is the first time we've seen a gotcha, and it's just like, "Why can't I just get the character?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, you know, that's just how it is. But if you just play for the long haul, I mean, eventually you'll get all the characters,
yeah,
like, eventually, if you play long enough.
yeah. I mean, they have reruns.
And
You're gonna
that's the
get
way
them.
with the 4 stars. This is why I always say, like, don't roll for the 4 stars,
Yep,
right? Because, eventually you'll have them all, and not only that, but you'll probably eventually get them all C6.
yep.
And then what do you do after that? So it's like, enjoy it, while you can,
Yeah, yeah. Save up for the
'cause
characters you want. Pull on the bandage you want. Don't worry about like pulling every single character every single time. If you are free to play and you don't want to spend any money on the game, you definitely don't have to.
yeah.
But I think as far as like the end game goes, I agree with that. That I feel like something like more challenging in the end would be a lot of fun. Some kind of like harder domain. I'd love to see even like a quote unquote like raid style domain where even if they just kept it to 4-player co-op, there was, multiple waves of enemies with, uh, weekly boss like trounce domain level
Mhm.
bosses in between the waves, like waves of smaller enemies and then a big boss and then waves of smaller enemies and a boss. Something that was like challenging in that regard, I think would be a lot of fun, and something that would like not be something that people can just blow through like immediately when it gets released. Something that people have to, work together on. You can't maybe you can't do it solo, or if you can do it solo, it's very hard to do solo. And just like trounce domains now, the difficulty increases as you have more people join. So with like 4 people in your party, it's going to be much harder, and it's takes longer to get through, and takes actual strategy, like more strategy of like overcoming mechanics, things like that. I think could help the people who feel like they have nothing to do in the end game.
Yeah. I mean, I think they will add something because I think Honkai also has something as far as, like, they have 2 different type of endgame things.
Okay.
I can't remember on the top of my head.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that Honkai might have it, and you can kind of view Honkai as a slight gauge or, kind of foresight
Mhm.
gauge to see where, Genshin might go,
Yeah,
the game, but, they are different, but, it is the same company, so it gives you a little bit of an idea, I think.
for
Yeah, I'm
sure.
on the same page. I really think that they should add, like, raids or maybe, like, a co-op version of Abyss that's, like, much harder,
That would be awesome. Being able to do a
'cause
co-op
then,
abyss would
like,
be,
if your friend's got, like, a Giga Chat account, then you're like, "Yo, let's go.
yeah, right,
Let's
right.
let's go put in some work."
And especially
Um,
like the people that, like you said, the abyss comes out and you can like 36-star abyss the first day, and then
yeah,
you're like, okay, now I wait 2 weeks for the next abyss. Like, cool.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, we'll have to see about that.
Yeah, I know. We can dream, right? We can dream.
Yep. And so well, I forgot to mention one of the main things that actually kept me playing with the game. When I first started playing the game, the first question when I played was like, "Is there a samurai character?"
Ah, yes.
And my buddy showed me a leak of Ayaka,
And
who
you're
was,
like,
for all the OGs in the chat, she was supposed to be free at AR 42.
yeah, that was the rumor. That was the
And
rumor.
she was gonna come out, she was in the beta, so she was supposed to come out, like, soon, and I was like, "Man," I remember seeing the attack animations, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I mean, it's just like, no, samurai character, this'll be sick. And I waited, and I waited. I always saved, like, 14,000 primos in my little pocket just so that I could get her when she came out. And then I was like, I remember Hu Tao came out, I
Uh,
was really on edge on going for Hu Tao or not because I thought Ayaka was gonna come out right after. And I was like, "Dude, I don't know." I was like, "I'm gonna risk it." Well, it turned out she didn't come out till way later, so
way later.
but yeah, that was did you have a character that you particularly kind of, like, really wanted at the beginning or
Yeah, I
kinda
think
drove you to play maybe a little longer than just starting?
Yeah, I think Zhao was probably the character that drove me
Okay.
to that. Like when I saw him in the initial like release trailer, um, and then I missed his banner and finally just got him on his rerun after like waiting for a freaking year. Like, all right, I'm gonna get him on his rerun. His rerun's got to be soon. It's got to be
Oh, that's
soon.
right, you
It's
didn't
got to
get
be
him on the
soon.
initial one.
No, so I
Dang,
had to wait like
okay.
a year to get him. Ugh.
The funny thing was we actually knew about him and Ayaka before they even came out, like, I think I
Yeah.
remember they were in beta, and so I remember watching his gameplay, and he was just doing, like, plunge attacks,
Yep.
and I was like, "Wow, this guy could jump, like, super high, like,
Yeah.
what in the world?" I
Yeah.
was like, "This is crazy," and they're like, "Just wait till he comes out." I thought he was gonna come out way after
Hmm.
the other characters, but he ended up coming out, like, right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I thought he was gonna be like a much later character. Like he seems so powerful. Like, oh no, we're not gonna get him forever. And then yeah, it was like 1.3, something like that. We got him. Like,
yeah.
oh okay. But yeah, man. Oh man. Well,
There's other people in our chat saying Diluc and Zhao.
Yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
no, not Diluc.
Oh man, I wanted Diluc when I first saw him, and he was my first 5-star. And the funny thing is, I pulled Diluc, and then the pull after I got Diluc, I pulled Hu Tao. But I was like, man, I got this Hu Tao character, and I didn't really know much about it. I was like, nah. I was like, Diluc, he's the one to go with. And so I played him for like a month until finally my chat bullied me into building Hu Tao. And they're like, you have Hu Tao at like level 20. I was like, yeah, I'm playing Diluc right now. And they're like, no, build Hu Tao. And then I did. And then I haven't touched Diluc since.
I remember at the beginning, I had like no pyro characters, and and I was an avid. I'm not gonna use carrot guy, and I was like, "This is so annoying." And then as soon as I was about to get Shunling, I literally got Bennett, and I'm like, "Who's this kid in trousers? Like, what does he do?" And then I'm like, "Wait, he does this 1E flame ability that does, like, no damage, and he, like, does nothing." I'm like, "This guy is the most useless character ever." So I just put him on the bench, didn't use him. Later on, I was, like, doing the Abyss, I was, like, on floor 7, I was having, like, a hard time, and I would, like to this day, I still think floor 7 was the hardest floor for me to do, as just, like after I achieved that, it felt so rewarding,
Yeah.
but I remember doing it, I was kinda new, I was still learning the game, and a guy came into my chat and was like, "Hey, why don't you use Bennett?"
And you're like,
I was like,
Bennett.
"He's garbage, he's not good," and he's like, "He heals really." He's like, "Trust me, just try it." And so I ended up, like, building him up, and then after that, it was like game over.
Heck yeah.
I was like, uh and I don't know, like, after that, I started to really just rethink about, like, characters, kits, and everything.
Yeah.
But because like, before that, I was just a Beto main, and I was just like, "I'm gonna do full counter." And so my Beto would crush everything, but all my other characters were just complete trash. It
Yep.
was just, classic.
For the longest time, that's how mine was too. Like, you find that one character that you really like, and you just build
Mhm.
that kit, and then and then you start doing Abyss, and you're like, I need 2 teams,
2
8
teams.
characters. Like, I barely have 4 built right now. Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah, I don't really have anything else for tonight. I have some ideas though of what I think we can talk about in the future. But
Yeah.
I think this was good to kind of uh, talk about who we are and where where we see this game going, and what got us into it. I guess I'll probably be posting this up on like YouTube and I through Anchor to podcast form later. So for people who might be watching later, if you want to tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
Oh, for the okay. Well, I'm the 2D man. You can catch my YouTube channel is the 2D man, and also for Twitch, it's the 2D man at twitch.tv. So if you guys are looking for me, but yeah, that's where you can find me. And then to add to that, if you guys have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, maybe in the future, throw it in either of our discords. And we'd love to have it. I know we've already discussed the different topics that we plan on talking in the future,
Mm,
and today was kind of just a start, just to get the ball rolling.
yep.
But yeah, no, feel free to share if you guys have ideas.
Yeah, seriously. Whatever you guys want to hear, because uh, like 2D said, we have ideas of what we want to talk about and kind of where we want to take this, but we'd love to have what you guys want to hear about as well. Yeah, man. But I'm Malnoxx. You can find me Malnoxx everywhere except Twitter. It's Malnoxx TV because someone has the Malnoxx @ and they tweet once a year and they won't give me the @ and I've DM'd them about it
Oh,
before.
really?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
literally like once a year since 2018. And I've DM'd them and they don't respond to my DMs. I'm like, can you just change your @ Can I have that, please?
Oh man,
And his name's not even Malnoxx. His name's Malno, and his @ is Malno XX. Come on, man.
dude, that's rough. Oh man, I was gonna
Yeah.
wonder. I was like, not choosing Twitter. Okay, that's a smart move actually.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing. I actually why my tag is the way it is. Like,
Oh,
my
really?
gamer tag before this was always just 2D man, but there's, like, tons of 2D men on Twitch, as
Mhm.
surprising as that is.
Yeah.
And so I ended up just doing the 2D man because I remember, Tim the Tat Man, for those who do know
Mhm.
him, he has "the" in the word, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? The 2D man sounds kinda cool. I'll
Yeah,
go with it."
yeah, like, we got that.
Immediately regretted it 2 months after. No, I'm just kidding. But, we just stuck with it from there, and, it's worked so far because nobody else, I guess, really thinks of that name.
There you go, man.